Very warm welcome to this meeting, which is number 39, Personal Growth Leaders Advanced Toastmasters International Online Club. 39th meeting since we chartered the beginning of this year. But as you all know, we have been having meetings since September last year. So actually we have crossed 1 year as a club, pre-charter and charter together. So congratulations to everyone, huge round of applause. With that positive note, I would like to hand over to our horror master of this meeting, Ahmed Shukri. Huge round of applause.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, fellow Toastmasters. You need to put your spooky hat on. This is the season of the witch, where monsters come out to play. I'm not talking about the monsters that we are metaphorically scared of. I'm talking about real monsters, real ghosts, real ghouls, and the things that can make you feel scared as a young child. To kick things away, this is my first picture and behind me in my virtual background. Do you know who is this character? Quite famous one.
Wolf. Is that Wolf?
Let me just show it to you quite clearly now. This is quite a very famous scene from a very famous horror movie.
Johnny.
Here is Johnny. Yes, this is an iconic scene from The Shining, one of Stephen King's most memorable and horrific cabin fever stories. And if you haven't seen the movie or nor read the book, I strongly recommend the 1981 masterpiece by Stanley Kubrick, starring Jack Nicholson. Of course, today is all about horror, things that makes us feel scared, the small nugget of terror in the corner of our psyche. I am your horror master, Ahmed Shukri, and I've been a fan of horror for the past 30 years. So horror is a small part of my life, but a significant one. So in the next hour, I'll share with you what I've learned from the world of horror and terror, and share with you some of the examples where the horror masters painted the cinema and the history of cinema with beautiful, creative, terrific, horrific stories. A few caveats before I start. My theme talks about horror in Hollywood. It doesn't mean that there are other nations where horrific stories of very scary tales, folk tales, like in Asia, Korea, Japan, African terror and horror. So I'm just limiting my history of horror to Hollywood. So please forgive me for doing that. So let us start our session before I start my first slide on the history of horror by introducing the grammarian. And as in horror, words can also be scary if are spoken out of context. That's why in a Toastmaster meeting, we have a person who puts a tap on how people use a word of the day and how good and effective our English usage is. For our horrific, terrific, horror-themed meeting, the grammarian is Toastmaster Elizabeth. Please welcome her to share with us her horrific, terrific word of the day.
Thank you, Ahmed. Our word of the day is trepidation. Trepidation simply means feeling of fear or anxiety about something that may happen. I have already realized that most of us have used the word even before the meeting began. Correct usage in a sentence: the man set off in fear and trepidation. The man set off in fear and trepidation. All members are encouraged to make use of the word, and I've already posted it on the chat. Back to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Madam Grammarian, and wish you all the best of luck with this beautiful word, trepidation. May I please ask the host to give me sharing rights to share my first snippet of history in horror while I prepare the next segment. As I understand, we have a slight swapping of speakers. So I'm going to start to go ahead with the third evaluator, who's now the first evaluator. But before I do that, let me share with you my first slide. So, of course, this is a quotation from the famous Joker, and that's Joaquin Phoenix Joker in 2019 blockbuster movie. We stop looking for monsters under the bed when we realize they are inside of us. And I'm sure that you'll go back and think about that monster that harmed you or made you feel weak or bullied. And these are the monsters that we are all fear sometimes. So without any further delay, let me go ahead and introduce the first evaluator who's going to evaluate our first speaker. Please introduce the objectives of our first speaker, Toastmaster Satya. The stage is yours.
Thank you, DTM Shawkri. The speaker, Kathleen Draper, is attempting today a speech from the Pathway Motivational Strategies, Level 1, fourth speech, Researching and Presenting. The purpose of the speech is to research and present an unfamiliar topic, organize the speech clearly to maximize audience understanding, craft clear and engaging transitions between main sections of a speech, use and cite sources to support speech content, and make the source list available to the audience. Back to you, DTM Shawkri.
Thank you very much, and wish you all the best of luck with your evaluation. Stress can be an invisible but very scary part of life. And our Toastmaster of the first speech, Toastmaster Kathy Draper, will tell us how to best your stress. Best the stress by Toastmaster Kathy.
My computer is still acting up. Fellow Toastmasters, one of the things that has been a challenge for many people during COVID has been an increase in our stress and anxiety. Recently, I was watching an interview with Adele. As many of you may have noticed, she's lost a considerable amount of weight. And recently in Vogue, she was talking about the reason why she lost the weight. She didn't actually set out to lose weight. She had found a great exercise program, and she was using that to help her with her stress. And as she was doing that, that's where she ended up losing weight. She pretty much eats most of her favorite things. And she still heads to McDonald's just like she always did. She used this to relieve her stress and anxiety. This is one of the reasons I decided to do this particular type of research. I work as a personal trainer and nutrition coach, but I've never really delved into this part of how exercise works with stress. During the COVID pandemic, 4 out of 10 people have been reporting stress and anxiety symptoms, whereas in 2019, before all this happened, it was only 1 in 10. In a recent study published by the National Institute of Health, they have found that just 1 single session of exercise can improve your mood. If you go out and start exercising regularly, it improves both long and short-term depression and anxiety for every age group across the board, every sex, whether you're large or small, it doesn't matter. Across the board, regular exercise can help with this. In a meta-analysis back in 2017, and just to clarify, a meta-analysis when they take a large group of research studies, crunch the numbers so you don't have the implicit biases that some researchers have. It's looking at a large group of them. In this meta-analysis, they found improvement in anxiety symptoms across the board for both mental and physical illness, which would actually help us improve our immune system, which would help with things like COVID. One of the benefits of exercise that most people don't think about is it actually can improve our sleep. Good quality sleep can allow your brain to actually process mental and emotional information. Good quality sleep can actually help you to generate all the hormones that recover our body. It helps with muscle growth. fat burning, muscle, bone growth, along with the mental health issues. So let me share with you a few tips that might help you with better sleep if this can be a challenge for you. You can drop the temperature in your bedroom to 60 to 67 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's about 15.5 to 19.4 Celsius. I know all of us are around the world, so I wanted to make sure I covered both of those. Another thing is to stop eating about 2 hours before bedtime. This actually helps so that our body is not digesting the food, it's actually focusing on sleep. Third, and probably one of the more challenging ones, is to turn off your computers, your cell phones, and other digital devices before bedtime. What happens is naturally at night when it gets darker, we have a tendency, our melatonin increases, and this is what helps us to start to shut down and go to sleep. Our digital devices cause us to have problems. That light that's emitting gives us trouble with our melatonin production. So those are a few sleep tips. But what are some other ways? I discussed exercise earlier. Recently, I've been studying Tai Chi. Tai Chi and Qigong are two forms of martial arts. Although they're very small, slow, and rhythmic, they can both help tremendously with stress and anxiety. Each of these is considered a moving meditation. Instead of your traditional Om type of meditation, you get the benefit of both exercise and your meditation. How this works is that most of these are in a very flowing, slow movement. The slow movement is on purpose. You're following the instructor, so everything gets shut out of your head. It helps to calm and relax the sympathetic nerve. The sympathetic nerve is a part of the autonomic nervous system that processes our fight or flight syndrome. When we're scared, somebody slams in front of us in the car in traffic. These exercises, these slow rhythmic exercises, help us to calm that nerve down. So it improves blood pressure, and helps us reduce our trepidation, and also helps with those feelings of improving our mood and decreasing our anxiety. If you're not really into Tai Chi or Qigong or haven't tried it before, with your regular exercise, you can also have these meditation type moments. For example, when you are, say you're walking, and preferably out in nature, but when you're walking, focus on your breathing. So you're shutting out the things that are going on in your mind. This makes it more of a meditation. If you're strength training, focus on it, double duty, focus on the muscle group that you're working. Say you're doing a bicep curl. Focus just on that bicep and how the bicep is working. If you're doing a crunch, focus on your ab muscles. You're going to actually get more benefit out of the exercise, but you're focusing on the muscle group and shutting off the other things that are going on in your brain. So to go back and summarize, work on things like you're improving your sleep with that room temperature, shutting down when you eat, and your devices, and start using a few of these tips to help you so that you can work on your stress and anxiety while getting fit at the same time. Thank you, fellow Toastmasters.
Thank you very much indeed, Kathy. This is something that you will definitely require when you come across our next character. The next character, of course, is one of the most famous horror movie characters that was the foundation of classic horror. Now I'll take you back to the age of 1930s, 1930 to be precise, where the Universal Hammer movies, monster movies, came into place with the famous Bela Lugosi as the essential role player of Dracula, Count Dracula, taken from the famous series of novels. And they say it was taken from a historical figure, Vlad the Wallachian, who was a bloodthirsty ruler in Pennsylvania, Romania. And the creativity of human brought to us Vlad, Count Dracula, the blood-sucking monster of the 1930s. But unlike Dracula, our next evaluator is not a blood-sucking monster. but quite a maybe sometimes. Let's welcome our second evaluator, Toastmaster John Khaled Brilliant, to explain the objectives of our second speaker. Toastmaster John.
Good evening, everybody, or good morning, or wherever you are in the world. The purpose of this project is for the member to apply his or her leadership and planning knowledge to develop a project plan, organize a guidance committee, and implement the plan with the help of a team. This is the first speech for the member to introduce his plan and vision. Back to you, Horror Master.
Thank you very much, and all the best to you, Toastmaster John. Speaking from inside a car, I believe. I hope that you're safe and you're driving. Let's welcome our second speaker, Toastmaster Arthur, for his speech, Bring Them Back.
Thank you very much, Horror Master. It is indeed a horror situation, very, very horrific to speak from a car because the Electricity Supply Commission is holding maintenance and there's no power in the entire area. Toastmasters, have you ever wondered why some club members don't renew their membership? Has it ever occurred to you that it is a big headache to the vice president membership? And of course, the president to lose members. I will take you back some 4 or 5 weeks ago. It was Toastmaster DTM Somesh who was sending text messages to each one of us to make sure we are going to renew our membership. It is a big headache. Toastmasters, I want to bring you a plan that I have to try and improve retention of members through the project that I want to lead in this high performance leadership. I have been a vice president before, and I have also been a club treasurer. I am a club treasurer today. One of the things that gets on my nerves is to see that we are not having many more members renewing their membership for various reasons. As clubs, what do we do to follow them up? What do we do to understand the reasons that are making them not renew their membership? In this project, I will be assisted by 2 members. One is a vice president membership, and another one is a vice president education. And there will be a guidance committee that will be led by a former area director who has just completed his DTM just a few weeks ago. There will also be another legendary member of Toastmasters who has been with Toastmasters for 17 years to provide guidance. What will be the approach? First off, we are going to identify 10 to 15 former members that have not renewed for at least 1 semester. We will call each one of them to understand why they have not renewed their membership or why they stopped renewing membership. Again, after that stage, we will invite them to a focus group discussion where former members will sit in a room. This will either be virtual or in person to try and talk about their Toastmasters experience. So we will identify 3 main things. Number 1, we will identify the reason why they did not want to renew their membership. Number 2, we will identify ideas on how we can, or advice from them, soliciting advice on how we can make their membership experience memorable and good for their professional growth. And the last thing will be to try and see who among them would like to renew their membership in the next cycle. So through these phases, we are going to identify these and now come up with a strategy to try and extend, to come up with an approach that will extend to other members that have also dropped out. The reason is, when you're a Toastmaster, you grow. And as a Toastmaster, you're a leader. A leader will never leave someone who is backsliding. In Islam or in Christianity, there is this saying that says a brother must look after another brother, and they have to hold their hands to make sure they are on the same journey together. Toastmasters, guests, this is going to be the project that we're going to take. Again, the same questions we've had about people renewing membership are the questions that we would like to answer, and we develop a strategy that is going to help to improve retention of members. Horror Master.
Thank you very much indeed, Toastmaster Arthur, and wish you all the best in your project. Of course, fellow Toastmasters, there are some monsters that are created, and our next creation is based on a famous novel by Mary Shelley. This is, of course, in front of you, The Monster of Frankenstein, 1931 movie that was spun off too many times into various recreation of poor little Frankenstein, played memorably by Boris Karloff in 1931. Again, another Hammer Universal Monster movie era. That monster will haunt you for the next few nights. As we move on with the third speaker, our third prepared speaker is our VP of Education, Toastmaster Anvinta. But before I introduce her, let us hear from her individual evaluator, Toastmaster Teresa, to share with us the objectives of the third prepared speech.
Thank you very much, Mr. Horror Master. Anvita is doing her project from the Presentation Mastery. It's level 1, project 4, researching and presenting. Her objective or her purpose is research and present an unfamiliar topic, organize the speech clearly to maximize audience understanding, craft clear and engaging transitions between main sections of her speech. Use and cite sources to support speech content. Make source list available if asked. Her time is 5 to 7. Mr. Horror Master.
Thank you very much and wish you all the best of luck, Toastmaster Teresa. Of course, in horror movies, there are so many unnatural sources of power. But our next speaker is going to talk about the healing power of nature. Let's see, what does this power mean? Welcome our third speaker, Toastmaster Anvita, for her prepared speech.
I go to nature to be soothed, healed, and to put my senses in order, said John Burroughs. Good day, Toastmasters. I too go to nature to soothe myself. When I sit on my lawn, I watch everything around me keenly. I feel life in everything. Little ants going around in queues, squirrels playing with each other, the birds singing songs for me, butterflies flying and kissing each and every flower, the clouds playing hide and seek, the winds gently caressing my face. I feel awesome. Nature is awesome. I say that I feel very happy whenever I'm amidst nature to my friend Nima, who is a psychologist. To my surprise, she said, of course, you'll feel happy when you're amidst nature. Research studies have shown that nature has healing powers. In fact, there is a disciplinary field called as eco-psychology. This field studies the relationship between humans and nature. It was the first term I heard the term eco-psychology. I decided to research more about it. I found that nature is very beneficial to all of us. The emotional bond between humans and nature is very strong. Let me share those benefits with you today. Firstly, spending time in nature improves our health. Early studies conducted by Dr. Yoshifumi Miyazaki, a forest therapy expert and a researcher at Chiba University, Japan, found that people who spent 40 minutes walking in a cedar forest had lower levels of the stress hormone called as the cortisol, which is responsible for blood pressure and immune function, compared to those who spent 40 minutes walking in a lab. Another study conducted by Dr. Ying Li at the University of Nippon in Tokyo found that trees and plants emit aromatic compounds called as phytoncides. When we inhale this, it spurs healthy biological processes in our body, similar to aromatherapy, which has been studied for its therapeutic benefits. Lee says that when people walk through a forest or spend overnight in a forest, they exhibit changes in their blood, which is associated with cancer protection, lower blood pressure, and better immunity. This study also showed the link between nature and symptom relief of various diseases such as the cardiovascular diseases, anxiety, depression, and attention disorders. Secondly, nature helps us to connect better. Field studies conducted by Dr. Ku and colleagues at Human Research Lab found that spending time in nature helps us to connect better with each other and also to the larger world. Another study conducted at the University of Illinois found that residents who lived in Chicago Public Housing Society who had trees and green cover around their buildings reportedly knew more people. They even had greater sense of belonging and unity with their neighbors compared to those who lived in buildings without trees. In addition to that, they had lower levels of aggression and violence between domestic partners. Nature activates the part of our brain which is involved in love and empathy, says this study. Thirdly, nature improves our concentration. A team led by Kua at the University of Illinois had 20 kids with ADHD or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder take 3 20-minute walk without their medication in various locations: a park, a neighborhood area, and an urban area. When the researchers tested the kids afterwards, they found that after a park walk, the concentration of the kids substantially improved compared to a walk in other settings. Nature gives the part of our brain which is involved in effortful concentration a rest, says Kua. Last but not the least, even fake nature has its benefits. Researchers at times showed that even if they are artificial, images, sounds, and smells of nature can have a positive health benefit on us. For example, listening to sounds of nature will reduce our stress. If we have a window view, our attention will be increased, our stress will be reduced, and patients in hospitals will recover faster. Dear Toastmasters, nature is magical. We cannot put it in words, but we can feel it deep within. Nature touches our spirit. It gives us strength. It removes all our negative energies and fills us to the brim with positive energy. Take a nature break. Allow your mind to relax. You will feel refreshed. you'll be ready for the next task with renewed energy. If at all possible, get outdoors after this meeting. Back to our horror master.
Thank you very much, fellow Toastmasters. Don't be fooled by the last message. Going outside is dangerous. It's where the monsters lay. In the 1970s, the fabulous, fantastic George Romero brought us a new concept called zombies. And from there, countless number of zombie movies were created in the 70s and 80s. And when I mentioned George Romero, I have to mention the great legacy of Italian horror directors like Dario Argento and Mario Bava and Lucio Fulci. These horrific masters made my nights all sleepless. Actually, to be honest with you, my first horrific experience with a horror movie was when I was 13. I watched the movie Evil Dead, and I was scarred for about 5 years until I watched what is labeled as the most terrifying, scariest movie ever made, The Exorcist. If you have enough bravery in your heart, then I recommend you to go and watch this classic master of horror from the 1970s, The Exorcist. If you're not, then stay back, stay indoor, and don't risk it. For our fourth and last speaker, speaking from another prepared manual speech, Toastmaster, our president, Toastmaster DTM Somesh Kumar. Before we hear your speech, let's hear from your individual evaluator, Toastmaster Rosaina, to explain the objectives of speech number 4.
Thank you, Horror Master, Distinguished Toastmaster Ahmed. I feel fear and trepidation as I keep looking at those photos you flash. Okay, let's go back to the purpose statement of this speech. The purpose of this speech is for the member, which is Distinguished Toastmaster Somesh, to apply mentoring skills during a long-term mentoring commitment. The purpose of this speech is for the member to share some aspect of his experience as a mentor. Back to you, Horror Master.
Thank you very much, fellow Toastmasters. Do not trust your mentors. They could be your killers very soon. But let's hear it from our fourth and last speaker, our president, DTM Somesh. Speech title, The Blissful Journey.
Thank you very much, Mr. Horror Master Ahmed Shukri, and all the members of Personal Growth Leaders. Very warm welcome. I want to talk about the saying from Bob Proctor. Bob Proctor said that a mentor is someone who sees more talent and ability in us than we see it in ourselves and helps it to bring out of us. How many of us agree with this? Excellent. So we have a foundation for understanding what exactly we mean by a mentor. Someone who sees more talent and ability in us than we see in ourselves. Such an amazing statement it is. I have been in Toastmasters for nearly 7 years now, and fortunately, I have mentored many, many wonderful people who have come to Toastmasters. And this particular speech is about one particular individual who joined nearly 1 year back in Athlone Toastmasters. This person joined the company in which I am working, and he came from India. So in a way, to build a rapport was quite easy. And this is what I want to get to in terms of understanding what is the best way to mentor. So the first thing for mentoring, the basic foundation for mentoring is to first of all understand the talent and ability of the individual, as I said in the beginning. The second is to take out the trepidations out of the individual in terms of whatever anxieties or negative thoughts they have in their mind. How do we do that? By establishing the rapport. We have to become the friend of the person. Mentoring is actually developing friendship between the mentor and the protege. How will that help in terms of mentoring? A bond of trust develops between the protege and the mentor. And this is what happened between the person who joined the Toastmasters. We had that bond of trust between us. So this person had his speech written down, and we met in one of the quiet rooms in our office when we had the time, and that was a pre-COVID time when this started. So we were actually going to the office and we were meeting people in person. We met in one of the quiet rooms, and he had, this is what happens generally in terms of public speaking. We have lots and lots to convey. The amount of information that we want to convey in a 5-minute speech is like what we want to convey in 1 hour speech. And I have seen this in lots and lots of mentoring that I've done with the proteges. And that's natural. As human beings, we want to convey our emotion. We have gone through so many different things in our life, and we want to bring it out to the people who want to listen to us. And it's quite rare in this contemporary world where we are living in this day and age. And this is what Toastmasters is really amazing institution. Here we have people who are actually interested to listen, not just hear, listen. What does listening mean? Listening means we are actually present. And this is the second point that I wanted to mention about being a mentor. We have to be inquisitive about our protege. We have to know more and more and more and more and more about our protege, as much as we should, or more than what we should, because that helps again in developing the rapport, developing the connection. And how does that happen? When we meet frequently. So this is the third thing that I wanted to convey. And everything is coming down back to that fundamental thing that I have mentioned in the beginning. Understanding the talent and ability of the person more than that person understands themselves. And how do we do it? Rapport, listen, and the last point is in terms of being inquisitive about the other person. To conclude, a mentor is someone who sees more talent and ability within us than we ourselves see and helps us bring it out of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. Because mentoring is about timing, timing is also important in another genre of horror movies, the slasher genre that started in the 80s and continued all the way until today. The masters of this art are John Carpenter and Wes Craven. They gave us masterpieces like Halloween, Mike Myers, Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger, and the Scream franchise. where you are in the wrong place at the wrong time in the wrong location, this is where you meet your killer in the slasher genre. And that's because it's all about timing. Even our Toastmasters meeting is all about timing as well. So let's hear it now from our timer, Toastmaster Fatima, to give us her report on the speeches so far.
Hello, with repetition, I'm saying this. All are good. Timing for all the speakers, prepare speeches. Kathy, 6 minutes and 21 seconds. After 5 minutes on the dot, well done. And with 6 minutes, 38 seconds. Shomesh, 6 minutes and 17 seconds. Over to you.
Thank you very much. That was a nice impersonation of a sound of a ghoul or a monster. Thank you for that. To be part of the whole theme. I like how we are all part of the whole horror theme. Now, you know, being a horror fan can sometimes kind of affect your life because you always look for the next thrill. And just like, you know, when you're an addict of a passion or a thrill, even horror can be an addiction. It can be a nice escape from reality, but the more you go into it, the more you want more and look for the next thrill or horror or terror. And even in Toastmasters, everything we do has to be part of feedback process and giving back something to improve, because the largest room of improvement is the room of improvement, is the largest room in the world. So let's hear now from our general evaluator, our president, DTM Somesh, for his general evaluation of our meeting. The stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Horror Master. What an amazing saying. The largest room in the world is the room of improvement. Amazing. Thank you so much for that saying. Now we come on to the last stage of this meeting, which is the evaluation stage. And we have 4 wonderful evaluators here. And we will also have the grammarian and R counter report, but I think we don't have the R counter today. So we probably will have
I have
only the grammarian.
noted down, Somesh. I have noted down.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, Anvita. So without further ado, we go on to the first speech evaluator of this meeting, Mr. Satya, to please give us the evaluation of Kathy's speech. Thank you very much, Satya.
Thank you, G. Congratulations to Kathy. Excellent speech. The topic was close to my heart. I had neither the trepidation nor anxiety that she will not do well. She has done exceedingly well. And the kind of a story she had woven around the subject matter of this, how to handle stress, the examples that she has given was tremendous, which I absorbed it very thoroughly. She had given several relevant for her speech pathway requirement. She has given all the relevant facts and figures. When she talked about 4 out of 10 people had stress essentially during the pandemic period. Unlike earlier, it was a different figure with also the citation of the source, the National Institute of Health. All of this has consolidated her speech delivery, also the facts, the kind of information that she has shared with the audience. It's quite relevant to all of us here. There was a clear message to the audience, which I liked very much. Also, there was several key takeaways during the speech. Essentially, when he said that if you have to manage stress, you have to do exercises. They have also given many examples on how to bring down the temperature of your room. All of these examples, switch off your telephone during the night or whatever time you want to reduce your stress. You have more time to yourself read or write, whatever. That's what I do. In fact, at least 1 hour before going to bed, I switch off the TV and all other electronic appliances. I start reading books, few pages, and then I go to bed. That's how I manage my stress. And I also do significant amount of exercise early in the morning. Now, if I were to suggest areas of improvement to challenge herself in the next speeches to Kathy, I would suggest 2 things. One is I would have liked her to have some vocal variety. Essentially, when she was talking about few of the very, very good words like melatonin, I would have liked her to specify it a little more vociferously, in the sense that about when she talked about meditation, melatonin, all these words, Tai Chi, Qigong, all of this, it would have made more impact on the audience is what I thought. The second part is, I thought, though there was an excellent transition from one fact to another fact with examples which went right through my heart, I would have liked the speaker to pause wherever relevant, in fact, while transitioning from one part to the other, because there were several factors. There was the talk about better healthy lifestyle to manage stress, that is the exercise, and also to look at various other aspects which you can look at while to reduce your stress. Finally, Kathy has summarized the speech very well. When she said you have to focus on your biceps with all the gestures, I liked it very much. All the best to you, Kathy, in your future speeches. Over to GE.
Thank you very much, Mr. Satya, for a very comprehensive evaluation of Kathy's speech. As a general evaluator, I don't evaluate the speeches themselves, but I evaluate the evaluators. What I would say was extremely good in your case was how you related her speech with your experiences. I think that's really great. And the way you have given the inputs as well, I think it's really great. The suggestions for improvements. One thing that I would have also said was probably, I'm not sure whether it's the problem with my system particularly, like I was not able to hear the volume could have been a little bit more in terms of what Kathy was saying. So probably maybe you can check the speaker part, how it is. So I would have probably said about that as well. But otherwise, excellent evaluation, Satya. Thank you so much for your wonderful evaluation. And now I would go to our second evaluator of this meeting, who is Toastmaster John. Please give us an evaluation of Arthur's speech. Thank you very much.
Arthur, it's with trepidation I start this speech because, as Ahmed said, I've got a ghoul sitting next to me. So your speech, Arthur, I like the way when you started off, you gave us the problem. And the problem was membership retention. And I think not just this audience, every audience in Toastmasters, every club would think about membership retention. So it was a very good topic for this audience. You seamlessly went into the body of the actual speech about getting 15 former members and asking them why they left. What would keep them to stay and how they would stay in the end. So there was a plan that you had there and the vision. So your purpose statement, which I did at the beginning, you've aced. So it was the strategy you had that I liked as you went through. There are a couple of points that I felt that you could have made it a lot better. One of the things is I would have gone with slides, and I know you're sitting in a car, which takes that out of the equation, as they say, unfortunately. You mentioned your 2 team members, and then you mentioned your committee. You didn't say names, but you said about the one committee member being one of the ADs And so you give some credibility to your actual committee. But if you could have beefed that up a bit about your committee members, I would have felt it would have come across a little bit better. The other thing is the call to action. I feel that the call to action could have gone out there to us sitting here, because we're not just from this club, we're other clubs around the world. You could have gone out and asked us to get some of that information that you wanted by going back to our own clubs, finding out what the retention rates are in our own clubs. And it would have helped us then. So the call to action is look at your own clubs, go back to your own clubs and see what you can do in your club. But I thought there was a very well planned speech, and it gave us the information that we want. It was an informational speech. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, John, for an excellent evaluation. Again, quite similar to what Satya had done in terms of his evaluation. Very clear and concise and comprehensive. So thank you so much for that. In terms of the recommendation, I would say probably you can just inform about the bodily kind of movements as well, because he was in the car, so he was not able to do a lot of that. So, but except for that, I think the points that you made in terms of the actual content of the speech, I think it was really great. So thank you so much for the wonderful evaluation, John. Now I would like to go to the third speech of the evening, and the evaluator of the third speech was Teresa, to give evaluation for Anvita's speech. Thank you very much, Teresa.
Thank you very much, Mr. General Evaluator. Anvita's purpose was to research and present an unfamiliar topic and to maximize audience understanding. So not only get our attention, but to maximize our understanding, to have transitions, and to give sources. Anvita, what I really liked about your speech was your title, first of all, because I think at this point, all the audience, we understand how important healing is today. You had an opening quote and you had a story, which all brought us into your speech. Your use of poetic language gives us images that we can, we can see exactly what you're talking about. You use the transitions well. You gave us the list of benefits, and you also gave us the sources. What I think you could work on, and I say this with trepidation because it could be my hearing, you do have a good pace. However, you do tend to speak very quickly. And sometimes there seems to be some words that are slipped over or muffled a bit. So maybe trying for that clear, concise pronunciation. And as I say, looking around, it could be my ears. And secondly, what about the personal part of this story? I was feeling you have such poetic language and just maybe a little bit more of yourself. And I'm not sure how you would fit that in, but just give us a little bit more of a personal touch. Your closing was very effective. And I feel that, again, your language was there, how nature is magical. You did touch our spirit. But I'm wondering, did you give us that call to action, to move on, to what are you going to do? But oh, yes, you did. You said go and go out into the forest. So I find that was very well done. I appreciated your speech. I really feel that healing at this time in our life is so, so important, not only healing ourselves, but healing the world. Thank you again for your speech. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Teresa, for a great evaluation. And for someone of a speaking caliber like Anvita, it's always difficult to give recommendations. And you did find some recommendations that was really, I would say, quite an important thing that everyone can actually think about. Because whenever we are speaking, some words can get quite quickly out of our mouth and the other person is not able to understand it. So it's a recommendation that each and every one of us can apply. So thank you very much, Teresa, for your wonderful evaluation. Now I go to the last evaluator of this meeting, Rosiana Mohammed, to evaluate my speech. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. Bob Proctor. Now you started by giving that name. I think almost all of us would know who Bob Proctor is, the law of attraction guru. And of course, I like it because Bob Proctor also someone that want to see more of ourselves and teach us how to do that with other people. And that is what mentorship is all about that you're sharing just now. And also how to mentor, and also how to take out the trepidation out of an individual. And by establishing rapport and becoming friends, developing friendships and how that help. And then trust develop, bond and trust. And this was happening during the pre-COVID time. You said you go to the quiet room, things like that. And you tell about there's a lot to convey and how you can shorten the 1 hour speech into 5 to 7 minutes. And that's really great. Thank you so much. And you were talking about listening skills and also being inquisitive and understanding more talent of a person. Now, of course, I cannot whitewash you. There's nothing I do not know how I could help to improve. But I think maybe the project is 6 months. 6 months. Maybe you can tell us the sequence of how you did it, because I also want to do this. It's still a long way for me, and I want to know how you do it in this 6 month period, because it's mentioned in the project the 6 month. And for example, how your mentor brings out the talent. For example, how they get individual to be the inquisitive part, and to create the result of the trust and bonding. And I would like to know how to do that, and how to bring the talent to that individual, and maybe to challenge yourself. In conclusion, is that to show us the sequence during the 6 month period. There's a long period there, and how it could be done to bring an individual from nothing to become inquisitive, tentative, and bonding. How to create that bonding and friendship to be successful as a mentor and mentee in this respect. And also maybe the frequency of that 6 month, during that 6 month, because I really want to know how to do it as well, because I have not done this project before. And this is really great, although this is not under the pathway, but this is really a good platform to start and help other people achieve more. Thank you, and look forward to your future speech. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you very much. It's a tricky situation. I've done the speech and I'm doing the general evaluation as well. Apologies. I think we don't have many role players here, so. But I think whatever suggestions you have given is perfect. Probably, as a speaker, putting on the speaker hat, I should have actually done more in terms of what the different transitions were in terms of the 6 months. How from the first month to 6 months, what were the different things that were done. Thank you so much for your wonderful evaluation. I see we are 2 minutes over time, so I won't do too much of a huge general evaluation. I think we started a couple of minutes late, and we are now a couple of minutes late. Otherwise, I think everything is fantastic. But I would also like our general evaluator to please give us how did we fare in terms of the use of the word of the day and also the use of the language. Over to you, Dr. Elizabeth Akinney.
Thank you very much, the General Evaluator. With regard to the use of the word of the day, I also watched with a lot of trepidation, wondering whether you are going to make use of it. But I'm glad to report that quite a number of us made use of the word. Kathy did it twice on the chat, and as she spoke, Ruziana twice, Somesh once, Satya once, John once, Teresa once, which was very, very good. I did not capture any improper usage of language, which is actually commendable. And I liked some quotes, some thoughts, some words, some sayings. For example, Chibwana said, things that get into my nerves. And Anvita said, I feel life in everything. And then Ahmed said, if you have enough bravery in your heart. And Ahmed's second quote, which I think I will use very frequently, that the largest room in the planet is the room for improvement. And then Teresa also said, it could be my ears. Thank you, and back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Dr. Akinney, for a wonderful grammarian report. And I would like to hand over to our horror master if you want to conclude the Toastmasters part. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much indeed, fellow Toastmasters. I hope that we had a wonderful soiree on the Masters of Horror. In the end, I think apart from being a fan of horror, there are things in life where are not monsters, they're not ghouls, they're not ghosts, yet they still can make us feel scared and lonely. Please do not make public speaking one of those monsters. We're here to help, we're here to improve, we're here to learn from each other. With this, I finish my segment and I hand the control back to our president.
Thank you very much, horror master of the meeting. And it's been a great meeting as usual. We are 5 minutes over time, but we had 4 speeches and wonderful speeches, wonderful evaluations, and a great meeting. So 5 minutes of our time is a very small price that we pay for such a wonderful 1 hour. Thank you so much, and let's meet next week again. Thank you so much.